it's after the try time and Liv's annoyed because I made her press record.
Oh, because I walked out here and I'm like, can you please put the light on? Can you please set up your phone? Can you, like,
I don't know
you were
how
just literally sitting here while I was doing stuff, and then I come out and nothing's been set up.
I don't know how to do social media stuff.
Until you do. And
I never do.
You demand to do it.
So, today's after the try is post chat with Tanya Williams, who is author of the book A Child-Free Happily Ever After. She has an app called Undecided. Anyway,
her book is the #1 seller on Amazon.
How good's that?
It's wonderful.
Because, and I'll tell you why I think that is. Because nobody really speaks that much about a child-free life. Anyway, the moral of the story is Tanya is child-free by choice. I love that phrase.
She's in her 50s, which she happily shared with us. She made the decision very, very, very early on when she was basically a child herself about not having kids, which I actually found very, very, very interesting, because I feel like when I was a kid, all I knew was the life of getting married, buying a house, having kids, all of that. So it wasn't even a choice for me at that point in time. It was just something that you did. So for her to even have that sort of insight into the fact that she had a choice and then making that choice is so bizarre.
And I think that's what's powered her to now be an advocate for this choice. But I think that's the issue, what you said, that you didn't even know you had a choice. So it goes back to that. Where's this education in schools that we talk about around fertility, etc., but also around choice? Because all I can remember is being told that you grow up, you get married, and you have babies. I think we also brought up the education thing when we were speaking as well to the sexologist.
We've done it with everyone, I think.
Because, again, you know, gender identity, it's all stuff that needs to be discussed.
Yeah.
So that you know you have options. And I know this sounds generalised, but we can only talk to our experience. Being from Adelaide, if we stayed in Adelaide, we would be doing what all our friends were doing, and that's getting married and have kids. I don't know a single person in Adelaide.
No, neither do I.
That doesn't have kids and a husband.
I don't either.
So that was the main reason that we moved to Melbourne. And I truly don't mean to come from a place of judgment, but that's just the reality in our lives.
And a lot of them are really, like, I know a lot of my friends are really happy in that situation, but also a lot of them aren't.
Yes, there are divorces happening now, which is interesting. So when we go home to Adelaide, unfortunately, whether people mean to do it or not, they pity us, they wonder what's happened. And I thought a really interesting, where have we gone wrong that we don't have partners or kids? And look, I'm not saying there's not something wrong with us. There is. Like, I'm too
clearly.
fussy. And we don't try hard enough to meet anyone. But also, I don't think you can broach it that way if you want to discuss that with someone.
But I also think clearly it's not that important to us if we're not willing to do anything about it as well.
True. But a really interesting topic I found with Tanya was that the misconceptions of being an older woman or an aging woman and having no kids. Two things she said. One was people think you hate kids.
You hate kids, yeah.
She has nieces and nephews
and her
she
friends'
adores.
kids, and
she's not a child hater. Second of all, I think I raised this one, was that you just can't, you weren't able to have them, so therefore you don't have them.
Yeah, it's not a choice. No one thinks it's a choice. Because you'd be dumb not to. Like, why would you choose not to?
Because when she was talking about having conversations with people and they say, why don't you have kids? She responds, I'm child-free by choice. And I think it's so weird that we have to say, I made this choice.
Yeah. Because no one asks, why did you have children?
Yeah, I have kids by choice.
Yeah.
No one ever follows that up by choice. That is such an interesting factor, I reckon. It's like saying I'm straight by choice, because you just assume everyone's straight. And if they're not straight, they have to come out of the closet and say they're gay. We don't have to come out the closet and say we're straight.
No.
That's a bad assumption, especially in this day and age. We shouldn't have to say we're child-free by choice. Because you don't say, I'm child by choice.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there was so... I took so much out of that chat. I actually felt quite emotional at the end of it. And I've been quite drained for the rest of the day because I just feel like it made me think about so much that I hadn't thought of before, and it really alleviated a lot of my fears that I had around, I guess, the choice and just the things that I'm most worried about in my choice of potentially not having a child. She just made me feel so much better about. I think I spoke at the end about a girl in an article saying that she was scared by not having a baby that all her big milestones had already been in her life because she'd been married and bought a house. And I was like, oh, well, if I don't even have that and a husband and I have none of these big things, like, yes, the block was a huge moment, but has that passed me by as well? And she gave me the advice of you create your own moments and you create your, bucket list. It's not a bucket list, but she did like a under 60 or something like that, and 60 things she wants to do before she turns 60. And I just loved that. I was like, oh, I can make my own big moments and things that I want to do that fulfill me without having to have a child. So I just loved that. And even just the way she responds to people if they're judgmental towards her, I just think's great. Some people she chooses, if they're respectful, to have a really respectful answer. Other people she'll choose to be a bit of a smart ass if they're going to be a smart ass, which I feel like I'd probably take the smart ass route, to be honest.
By the way, Tanya has a husband, so that's another element to add. Some people would automatically judge and think she must be single, she couldn't find anyone. But no, she met her partner, she had those discussions, and they made that decision together. And she actually just got back from the Maldives, because she can do that, because she's got enough money to, because she doesn't have kids and she doesn't have to think about them.
God, that would be hard though. Imagine like having a partner, and then we did talk about that as well though, having those discussions early on, because imagine if you have a partner you fall so heavily in love and like blah blah blah, and then a couple of years down the line one of you doesn't want to have kids and tells the other, and the other one really does, and that's a deal breaker for both of you. That would be so incredibly tough, I reckon.
Can I also say, I think it would be rare, this is me guessing,
to find a couple that both don't agree. I totally agree.
That's just a total naive judgment. Because
again, we think that everyone just wants to have the assumption you just make. The underlying kind of assumption you make is just that everyone wants kids, and those that don't is like a shock.
Abnormal. It's that's the status quo. That's what society expects. You talked about those big moments, and you named, I don't have a house, I don't have a husband, I haven't had a wedding, I'm not having kids. Like, am I going to have no big moments? But who says they're the big moments? Society says that. There are so many other big moments.
Maybe I'll make my own day or something where people have to
celebrate you, like
Carrie Bradshaw.
Do you feel any closer to knowing what you want to do?
Not really, to be honest, but I do feel like I've definitely got more work to do. I feel like I probably haven't done enough thinking about different things to completely come up with a decision. And once again, she's brought me a bit more clarity on that, just even around visualizing where I am in 5 to 10 years and what my career looks like and what my life with a kid looks like, but what my life without a kid looks like, writing a pros and cons list, spending more time with people that have not had kids, I guess, by choice, but also ones that have had kids at all different ages to experience that and how I feel. It's definitely just opened my eyes to the things that I have to think about that would make me feel better coming to a decision, because I think at the moment I'm still just so, even though I'm swayed more towards not having kids, there's still so many things that go on in my head that make me second guess that.
I know. Some tips that Tanya gave were, you do a pros and cons list, you visualize your life in 5, 10, 20 years. I think you thought it would be a gut feeling, and you're struggling with the fact that your gut is sitting in the middle. But actually what we learned today is you actually have to put in work.
Yeah, to
figure it out.
Because it's such a big decision. And then when she made that comment about you put so much money and time, etc., into your career and education into your career, but yet you don't invest the money and the time and the energy in working towards the biggest decision of your life, which is having a child, which was so interesting to me too. That was like such a light bulb moment, being like, that is so true. A child is something you cannot give back, and that you can't change, and that you've literally got for the rest of your life, and it changes your whole life. Yet it's kind of a decision we make.
Some people don't even make it; they accidentally do it. But I think you should almost have to
go have some sort of,
because I don't know. Anyway, but I also want to make it clear, because people have said to us before, you chat a lot about whether or not you want your kids, but you may not be able to have them. We are aware of that.
God,
we know that even if we do make the decision that we want kids, and it may not happen for us. I'm 39. So please understand that we know that, and also I don't want to ever trigger people by having these conversations, but these are issues that are impacting us currently, and we feel like we can benefit from having these conversations, and hopefully other people will too.
And in chatting to Tanya, she has said that exact thing. Like, she thanked us for having this conversation because it is so important. So whilst, yes, like, we absolutely don't want to trigger anyone, we're also going to talk about our experiences and our opinion with it. And we're kind of at this stage of, we're talking about it as if, it's just, we definitely don't think it's just going to happen for us, but we're not even, well, certainly I'm not anyway, you're probably thinking about it more seriously than I am, but I'm just at this point of even deciding whether it's something I want to start seriously thinking about. So for me, I'm not even at that point yet of considering that, it may not happen. For me. So it's very, very, very early days. We acknowledge that we'd be so incredibly lucky if we did want to go down that path, if it did happen for us, because we know it can't for a lot of people. So
what we do know is, coming out of this, that we need to remove the stigma that there still is. I definitely think it's improving. People are talking about child-free lives more confidently, or even solo mumming more confidently. There needs to be less stigma and more acceptance, less judgment.
Yeah.
Because we praise and celebrate people who have kids. Why can't we praise and celebrate people who choose not to have them?
Do you know what's made me just think of something just then? When I speak to people and they say they don't want kids, I get this weird rush over me of, like, relief that, like, I don't know whether that means something to me of, I don't know, it's just, you like,
feel validated,
I feel almost
like
that of
someone
that's made that decision
like
not to. It's sort of like refreshing, because I just don't feel like that happens a lot, and it's still taboo, and a lot of people aren't open about it and don't want to speak about it openly, in public. And
I also think maybe seeing Tanya helps show us that someone can be normal and vibrant and happy and child-free, and not 90 with 9 cats and depressed, because that's what we're taught.
Written books, she's created an app, she's created businesses, she travels all the time, she goes away with her husband, she has a wonderful relationship with her husband, but then she also has nieces and nephews, she has a beautiful family, even though she doesn't have kids, she sees her friends, like, she has a wonderful life still. The thing I loved as well is when you asked about the whole, but there's no one to look after me when I get old, and she was like, well, there's no guarantee that they're going to look after you. Your kids are going to look after you when you're old.
Even if you have one.
Which is true. We're picturing, like, The Notebook, where they're going to visit, the mum in the nursing home with dementia every day and things like that, and you think, like, that would... And I think about Christmases and how lovely it is to all go home at Christmas and come together and stuff, and, that makes me sad.
You've got a very stereotypical idea of what family is, like the fairy tale. I'm telling you, I'm calling it right now. I think me having a child would be enough for you. But
did the conversation make you think any differently about things?
No, because I feel like I've got this yearning inside me still, unfortunately.
Why unfortunately?
Because I think life would be a lot easier, I said this on the podcast, if I just didn't want children. But because I do, and I'm partnerless, it's a lot harder. So I wish I didn't have to go through this. Do you know what I mean? I know that sounds aggressive, but I wish I didn't want kids. Life would be a lot bloody easier for me moving forward. That's why I don't want to date. The pressure, that's why I just want to potentially do it by myself and not find a man, because imagine if I was trying to date someone right now. I would rush, and if he broke up with me, I'd be heartbroken. My life would be over. I'd be 40-odd.
I know. But then I have anxiety for the opposite reasons of being like,
if you had a child,
I'm still not sure. Like, I'm still not Sure. So, like, you've got that anxiety, I've got this anxiety. Oh, they're just sort
We've
of
got opposite anxieties,
but the same level of anxiety.
If you had a child, you wouldn't regret it. You'd be fine. But I think this is my opinion, would want the child-free life better, more. You want that more. Well, look, we haven't really made any further decisions, but we are breaking down stigmas.
And it's just been good to be able to... I feel like today was a very different opinion, not even opinion, but just a different insight, because the majority of people we've spoken to so far are, you know, mums, midwives, like all these people that pro having kids. So today was just nice to get a different view, I think.
I agree.
And make us think a bit differently. And so hopefully it'll help other people as well out there if they're sitting on the fence or they're not sure. So yeah, definitely visit Tanya's Instagram page and her app, because
her website
it's childfree_Tanya.
No.
Oh, sorry, website. That's her
website
Instagram.
is childfreehappilyeverafter.com.au, and her Instagram
Childfree_Tanya.
No, is it?
Yeah.
Hang on. Yeah, childfree_Tanya.
Yeah.
Beg my pardon, Liberty.
And then Undecided is the app. So yeah, she's very, very intelligent and insightful and balanced.
And
she's not preachy.
Yeah, she's not forced. She's not going out being like, you should
don't have kids.
But she's saying you have a choice.
You have a choice. Yeah. And here are the things to help you make a decision, to consider if you haven't thought about these various things yet in order to make that choice. So
that's why we're going to have a baby together. You're going to help me raise my child.
I'll be the one raising it.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.